Okay, Nick Sanzone here at the City of Satellite Beach. We're doing another live video about, this time, how to transplant your vegetables after they've sprouted. So what we've done is we've already sprouted a number of different vegetables that we sprouted from seed here in our trays. These are 72 LN1 trays. That means that there's 72 little squares in each of these here. We have everything from beets to broccoli, sunflowers, and some zucchini squash. These were all actually planted by our beautification board. Again, in hopes for Earth Day, we're going to give these away. So until then, we're just going to try to keep them alive and keep them happy. So what that means is we're going to have to transplant them into a little bit bigger size pots. So I already have everything ready over here. Let's put down our tray. And we'll do this for pretty much all the different plants we planted here in the community garden area. Right now we're in the Shade House. Shade House was built by a grant from Keep Our Beautiful in partnership with the City of Satellite Beach and Balance for Earth. And together we've actually propagated thousands of plants in here that have been used in restoration projects. These are all native plants. Right here is a Spartina. Little blanket flowers and Seoxide daisy are over there. And these all get used in places like the bioswale in DeSoto or around the City Hall's pond, for example. So right now we have the squash. This is Black Beauty Zucchini Summer Squash. And we get our seeds, these have been donated actually from the Botanical Interest Company, great company. And on the back side of the packet, it just tells you exactly what you need to do to propagate them. So it's pretty user-friendly. These again are all organic heirloom seeds, meaning that they're non-GMO, and they're really delicious once they do grow. We've grown them in the garden for the last 2 years now. So basically this one says to sow outside, sow it, in other words plant it, 1 to 2 weeks after the average last frost when the temperature is 70-85 degrees, which for us is 2 weeks ago. But it's still good enough, and it's not too hot, and these are going to be able to grow just fine here in our community garden. So they emerge in about 5 to 10 days, which they already have, and they were planted about 1 inch deep, so right inside one of these little areas here inside the tray. And we just put about 2 in each of these tray spots, and then as many come up as come up, and then we'll plant them into these little bit bigger size pots here. So what we have is some real nice soil. This is a combination of potting soil that was donated to us. And this blend, I think, was actually donated by Sun Harbor Nursery. So big thanks to all the folks out there that have supported the different projects here in the City of Satellite Beach. And so basically all we do is we just flip our tray upside down, make sure that we don't want to damage anything, and I can kind of poke it out from the bottom, and they come out in these nice little root balls. Now, of course, this root ball immediately needs to get watered after it gets put inside of the soil. So put a little soil on top of there, and then what we'll actually do on top is we'll grab some mulch. Now the mulch is going to help keep the moisture content high so that we don't have to water it too often. Because we can only get out here as often as, not as often as I would like, but just often enough. So trying to keep it standing up straight, maybe take one of those extra twigs that are down there and stick it in there vertically, give the plant a little bit of support, and it should be just fine inside of its new home. Now we'll do that with all of our plants here. Sometimes, unlike the zucchini, I'm going to push this one forward. I'm going to grab another tray. Sometimes you don't just have one in each of your spots. Sometimes it's like the beet here. So we get our beet. Now this beet tray, these are all beets. These beet sprouts, each individual one of these is actually a beet plant. Now unfortunately, they're just going to choke each other out. So they need to be thinned out. Basically the concept remains the same. We go into our tray area, we grab a little bit of dirt, we get our space ready. However, on this one, we might get a couple more ready because we're going to thin it. Now you can just put them all in there, and I'll do this a couple different ways so that we can kind of showcase different ways of going about this. Just depends on how much attention you want to give each of your plants, how much focus you want to give them, and how much time and effort you're willing to put into it, and how much soil you have, because soil is not cheap. So let's say we get one of these here, and again the same method. I'm just going to poke it from the bottom. I'll pick one here that looks like it's got a bunch in it. There we go. Poke it up. and pull it out. So we have a nice grouping here. Now these are all beets again. Now the beets are actually pretty delicious little sprouts. You can eat those. There you go, delicious. Now this little guy here, I'm going to keep all of them together. So I'm just going to put a hole right here, put them in there, and maybe add a little bit more soil to the top of it. Hold around it, pull it up gently, just gently. Put the rest of the soil in, pack it down nice and tight. Maybe just a touch of mulch on top, not much, just a little bit. Give it just enough to keep it standing up straight. Now, these little guys are going to choke each other out if they're left in there, but the strongest will survive. And we got enough where we don't have to worry about thinning out each individual one. Now, if I got more time and I want to come back to it, I can come back and I could thin that in the next week or so. But let's say that I wanted to thin them out right now. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these ready. Put this guy to the side. Now we're ready to thin one of our beets. So let's pick one that's got a bunch in it. Okay, yep. Actually, hold on. Yeah, that one will do. Oh, let's get right there. Okay, there we go. So this one has got a bunch in it. So kind of just dust off any of that extra dirt that's hanging around. And slowly, just going to gently take some of that loose dirt off and try not to disturb the roots too much. Try to let it fall apart naturally. They'll fall apart naturally. You'll see some of them clump together. Just kind of take them apart and drop them into different trays. Now again, you could do this with one in each tray. It's a lot of work. It takes a little bit more time. So we're going to do a couple in each tray. Just in the meantime, try to pull them apart so that now there's 1, 2, and they're all going to hang out together in the same area, but not clumped. These aren't clumped together anymore. So there we go, there we go, there we go. Grab another handful of dirt. Now you see how I've kind of laid them all out like a flower pattern? And I'm going to put my dirt right in the center. It's actually going to push them up. Now they're all kind of standing up on their own. Poke it down a little bit, poke it down a little bit, and they'll all kind of stand up on their own inside the same tray. Now when they get hit with water, they're going to really grow and stand up straight. We'll do this again for each one of these until they all have a space of their own inside these little pots here. Sometimes you might come across one. If you wanted to, you could separate them all by color. I don't particularly think that's necessary. I'd rather have them all diverse and a few different variety in there, because if you're going to give these away as a gift or plant these in your garden, you want a little bit more diversity among the different types you have. And again, they're all kind of spread out, angled in different directions. And I'm just going to add some more soil to the top and press that down. And now they all kind of naturally are just going to poke back up, stand up straight for the most part. Now that we got them standing up straight, we're going to go in with some of that mulch from here. Maybe kind of pick through it and not get the biggest pieces. Try to get some smaller pieces in there. Smaller pieces. Maybe, like I said before, if one of them won't stand up straight, just give them a little friend, a little piece of wood to help hold up the little tiny sprouts of each of these different beet plants. So that's what you can do with the beets, with the zucchini. A few other things we have are the sunflowers and some tomatoes growing and a few other things. I think there's some kale over there. And again, these are all donated to us from botanical interests. You can typically you can pick up your botanical interests from your local garden shop, or if not, you can find your favorite seed and just ask for whatever your favorite one is. So this is some of our water here. Just going to water some of these in. There we go. Important to make sure that they're nice and watered in, because they're going to be real thirsty now that they've been transplanted. So we'll come in here every couple of days and check on these. If they were at your home, you can check on them a little more often, especially if you have some free time these days. But that's how you transplant from the tray into a secondary set. Now we'll do this again from these size pots into 1 gallon pots, depending on the type of plant, in about 2 weeks. Other than that, they could go straight from here into your garden if you have a garden bed like the ones that we have out at the community garden. Or, if you just want to eat them as sprouts, you can just eat them as sprouts. again, thanks for watching. Stay sustainable. And until next time, we'll see you then.